and thank you all the students for attending this. Starting with thank you both of you the session in between. Okay. My topic is heat transfer enhancement of micro-oscillating heat pipe by self-rebating fluid. This is a very new topic for everyone here because self-rebating fluid का नाम I don't think so anybody has heard about it. Self-rebating fluid and the micro-oscillating heat pipe. As a chemical engineer, these topics are core topics of ours, like heat transfer, mass transfer, and fluid flow. So, what are these self-reverting fluids, and what is this micro-oscillating heat pipe?
मैम
अरे वो तो 20, today's presentation on this lecture, I will cover first the heat pipes. What are the heat pipes and how they work? Basically, the micro oscillating heat pipes, the micro ones, not the bigger ones. Then after that, we'll study about how the CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, and the other refrigerants which are used in the heat pipe, how they are affecting our environment, and how we can remedy this on the sustainability because CFCs and the other refrigerants making so much pollution or degrading our sustainability, environment sustainability. So how we can introduce self-rebating fluid in replacement of these CSPs to have the sustainable environment and no pollution. Because as sir also had discussed about the greenhouse gases and greenhouse effect. So how we can remediate this greenhouse effect? For this, we'll first go through the Marangoni effect. Marangoni effect and the capillary action and the wettability. And after that, we'll study about the self-rebating fluid. After that, we connect how this self-rebating fluid and the Marangoni effect is affecting or enhancing the heat transfer in the heat pipe. Then we'll discuss my research. This self-rebating fluid is discovered in 2013 when I started doing work on it. And I'm the first Indian at that time in 2013 who worked on this. But presently, so many people are working. And this technology is basically based upon how we can remediate, how we can transfer the more heat from your heating section to the cooling section. Generally in our circuits, सभी के पास लैपटॉप है, सभी के पास फोन है, ठीक है. After some time they get heated. और जब बड़े बड़ी मशीन्स को हम यूज करते हैं, इवन इन कार्स, तो हम ये बोलते हैं कि आफ्टर सम टाइम टेक रेस्ट, कार को रेस्ट दो, जस्ट बिकॉज कि वहां पे ड्राइंग हो जाती है. देयर इज अ ड्राइंग फिनोमिना व्हिच अकर इनसाइड योर पाइप. जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ दैट हम बोलते हैं कि थोड़ा रेस्ट दे दो. तो व्हाट इफ दैट ड्राइंग फिनोमिना विल नॉट अकर? तो मतलब आपको तो कभी रेस्ट की जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ेगी. जब ड्राई आउट होगा ही नहीं, तो that we will discuss in this research paper. So now we'll start with, first of all, what is heat pipe? Heat pipe devices that combine the principle of thermal conductivity and the phase transition for the efficient manage the transfer of heat between the two interfaces. In your devices, where the heat is producing, you have to transfer that heat or sink that heat to the other portion. This is what we are doing in heat transfer or in our each and every devices, whether we are cell in tube heat exchanger or in a evaporator. जहाँ पर भी हमें जरूरत पड़ती है heat produce करने की, because as a chemical engineer we have to generate heat for our reactions, and we also have to sink heat just because at that time we don't need that heat. So we have to transfer our heat from one place to another. For that, generally what happens in a tube, if I have a maximum temperature over here and minimum temperature over here, according to the resistance, when the temperature difference is very high, your resistance will increase. Okay. अगर टेम्परेचर ज्यादा होगा डिफरेंस हमारा, तो मतलब रेजिस्टेंस हमारा इंक्रीज होगा. तो वी नीड टू हैव अ डिवाइस वेयर वी कैन मैनेज दैट टेम्परेचर डिफरेंस. तो यहाँ पर मतलब ड्राई आउट ना है. अगर हीटिंग है, एक जगह पे कूलिंग है, टेम्परेचर डिफरेंस ज्यादा है तो रेजिस्टेंस बढ़ जाएगा। अगर टेम्परेचर डिफरेंस हम कम कर देंगे इन दोनों के बीच का, तो हमें ऐसे अपना हीट वी हैव टू मैनेज आवर हीट अकॉर्डिंगली दैट डेल्टा टी बिटवीन द टू पॉइंट will be less. So our resistance will be less, so our efficiency will be increased. So according to this, or by this phenomena, we can solve our thermal problems in our electronic device, our microelectronic device, and other devices. So there are so many heat application or heat pipe applications that you can see around you, that in microelectronic system devices, gas turbine, air condition, mobile or aircraft, satellite thermal control, everywhere you have this problem of heat dissipation. So what are the heat pipes and how they are work? This is the structure of heat pipe, and there are this is like a big heat pipe. There are so many other type of structures of heat pipe. Groove pipe होते हैं, mash pipes होते हैं. This is a cover जो हम देखते हैं ऊपर pipe का. This is the cover that calls the envelope. Then there is a wick inside this pipe that calls your wick, and the fluid. अंदर जो हमारा hollow portion होता है, where your fluid will move. And this is one of the sections just to clarify you that what we are thinking to do now. Not thinking or what we will study. And you can think about it that in the initial portion you are providing heat or you are producing heat in any of your apparatus. Any of your कोई भी reactor है, कोई भी controller है, कुछ भी है, where you are producing this heat. And you have to send this heat to the any other device, or you can say the cooling device. So according in this heating portion, the fluid is heated and that transfer towards the cooler portion, and this wick or different kind of grooves. बहुत सारे ऐसे grooves होते हैं, mashes होते हैं. When you cut your pipe, you can see you have a different pipe structure in AC, in refrigerator, or even your mobiles, in your uh, computers. Everywhere you have a heat pipe. एक copper का tube रहता है, कहीं पे बड़ा रहता है, कहीं पे छोटा रहता है. ठीक है. And if you cut that pipe, you will have different structure inside that, according to your requirement. जो भी हमारा requirement, according to that, we have this fixed structure. ऐसे करके इसमें ग्रुप्स भी होते हैं, अंदर मैशेस होते हैं, बहुत ऐसे बहुत फाइन लाइंस होते हैं. But just to understand you, I have taken the one case of big pipe. So in this pipe, your fluid will move towards the vapor phase, and by this structure, according to your requirement, here in cooling portion, that is condensed, that fluid is condensed and come back to your heating portion again. This is the normal cycle for the fluid in your refrigerator, in everywhere where the cooling happens. जहाँ पे apparent cooling होती रहती है in a cycle, that apparent cooling happens. So your devices, this rule is followed. But after some time, when the temperature here and here is the temperature difference between the inlet and outlet is very high. At the time, your resistance comes under the consideration. And when your resistance comes under the consideration, and when your resistance increases with time, you can say your heat transfer coefficient is decreasing. And after some time, you need to stop your device. And this generally happens in all kind of refrigerants which we are using nowadays, or presently whatever we are using. So this is the same diagram. As you can see, this is one picture of your pipe. That this is your wick structure, this is your groove structure, this is your mash structure. You have different kind of structures inside your pipe. And this is a very tiny pipe, like 1.3 mm, you can say. 1.2 mm, 1.3 mm pipe. So the heat dissipation or the heat thermal enhancement performance, how you can increase by the inner surface treatment, by employing the nanofluid, by grooves and fins, inclination, angles, self-revetting fluid, and using of the mix. We'll discuss this one case of self-revetting fluid. Before going towards the self-revetting fluid, we'll discuss about the sustainability something, because this is FDP of the sustainability. So let us talk about the sustainability also. So you have heard about all these R23, R130, 134A, R404A. घर में सुना होगा. Anybody? किसी ने देखा अपने रेफ्रिजरेटर पे कौन सा रेफ्रिजरेंट यूज हो रहा है? और on your AC, R22, R22. So these are what? These are the hydrofluorocarbons or the hydrofluorocarbons, like that. And after their dissipation, continuously slowly dissipation in your environment, they cause the greenhouse effect, or you can say the ozone layer depletion. So by this is the graph between the watt per square meter and the annual greenhouse gas index. By the year in 1990, there is a no production of your chlorofluorocarbon and the any of the component of the chlorofluorogene. So after the 90s, there is a small increment in the HCFs and the HFCs, as you can see here. And this small increment has the more impact than your CO2. As you can see here, your CO2, methane and nitrous oxide. मतलब ये तुम्हारा इससे भी ज्यादा ये तो कर ही रहे थे. You have heard about this CO2 is affecting or CO is affecting your environment. But the CFCs, they are affecting your environment in a more manner. बहुत ही small dissipation से they are affecting in a more parameters. So after the 1990s, just because we are using more refrigerators, we are using more ACs, or we are using more high machinery for the cooling in your chemical industry, so there is a higher dissipation in the HCFCs and HCFCs. So तुम समझ सकते हो कि ये कितना ज़्यादा बड़ा issue है. The CO2 तो issue है ही है, but for CO2s we have plants, but for your carbon fluoro, मुझे पानी ला दो, मैंने पहले बोला था मैं start करूँ तो पानी ला दो. बोला नहीं जाता है कंटिन्यूअसली बिना पानी के. So the warming influence of your greenhouse effect by the chlorofluorocarbons is more rather than your CO2 and other methane or any NO2, SO2, any gases. So what happens when these CFCs are released in the environment? By the solar energy, हम ये सभी लोग जानते हैं because ozone layer is depleting, just because our temperature is increasing. So your ozone layer is cracked down into O2 and oxygen, and your CFCs are going from our refrigerators or from our ACs that are going to the environment. Then after that, the CFCs that react with O2 and O and combine, and they will form the chloro oxides and other hazardous gases that are affecting our environment. So you can understand that CFCs are more dangerous than CO2. Okay. And for the sustainability, for the sustainable environment, we need a solution where we can eliminate the CFCs and the other refrigerants. And I have one solution, and that is introduced as I already shared with you. In 2013, the cell revetting fluid is introduced. बहुत ही नया टॉपिक. अभी शायद बुक्स में भी नहीं आया है, बस रिसर्च ही चल रही है अभी इंडिया में तो बहुत ही कम चल रही है. Generally, people who are working on a aerospace, they are working on it कि किसी भी तरीके से वर्कआउट कर जाए. तो सेल्फ रिवर्टिंग फ्लूइड पढ़ने से पहले हमें एक और इफेक्ट पढ़ना पड़ेगा, दैट इज फॉर योर मेरिंगोनी इफेक्ट. कितने लोग वाइन पीते हैं? कभी ग्लास देखा है? ठीक है. तो इन वाइन ग्लास सबसे पहले मेरिंगोनी इफेक्ट इन ग्लास देखा गया है, इन वाइन ग्लास और इन अल्कोहल कंटेंट. As a Marangoni effect, that is caused by the concentration gradient and temperature gradient that arises when the variation of surface tension along with the liquid takes place. ठीक है. अगर आपका surface tension increase हो रहा है and the motion from the regime of the low surface tension towards the high surface tension, generally हम ये पढ़ते हैं कि हमेशा कोई भी concentration हो, temperature हो, that moves towards the high concentration to the lower concentration. But in this case of Marangoni effect, your fluid, any fluid that contain that property, that move towards from the lower concentration to the higher concentration. ऐसे होता है. कभी भी फाइन ग्लास को बहुत देर तक देखते रहोगे तो ऐसे करके ना अगर उसका रिफ्लेक्शन देखो, you can see the reflection of the wine, that is like this. इसको हम लोग ये भी बोलते हैं that the first Marangoni effect is the fear of wines. That phenomena is called fear of wines. जनरली देखा होगा कि वाइन ग्लास को सब ऐसे घुमाते रहते. क्यों घुमाते रहते? शौक नहीं आता घुमाने का. बिकॉज घुमाते इसलिए दे आर क्रैकिंग दी सरफेस टेंशन ऑफ दैट लिक्विड, क्योंकि वैसे ऊपर चढ़ती जाएगी, ठीक है ना, और इवापोरेट होती जाएगी जल्दी. टू क्रैक दैट सरफेस टेंशन फिनोमेना ऐसे करके घुमाया जाता है. एंड यू ऑलवेज सॉ दैट योर वाइन ग्लास हैव अ स्टेम. बहुत बड़ी सी स्टेम होती है उसकी. नॉर्मल ग्लास में हम नहीं लेते बिकॉज वी ऑलवेज से ना वाइन ग्लास है, मतलब वाइन ग्लास होना चाहिए वाइन पीने के लिए, ऐसे किसी का मन नहीं किया था कि ऐसे they will invent some glass like this. There is a phenomena for this. Because when we hold the glass, any glass, we are transferring our heat of our palm into that particular glass. ठीक है, तो अगर हम हीट अगर उसको ट्रांसफर करेंगे, so in the self reverting fluid, अभी हम आगे बढ़ेंगे, in the self reverting fluid, its surface tension increases with the increase in temperature. If your surface tension is in other fluid, in the normal fluid, surface tension generally decrease with temperature increase. यही पढ़ा हमने आज तक, इसका रिवर्स तो अभी तक नहीं पढ़ा हमने. अगर हमारा surface tension, when our surface tension will increase with the increase in temperature and Smelling-Warning effect is taking place, that your concentration is moving towards the higher concentration. At that time, you can imagine that your alcohol or your wine will move towards upward. अब इसको और अच्छे से समझ. Let's suppose this is your wine glass, ठीक है, and this is your surface tension. ये हमारा तो है ANW, surface tension of alcohol and water. With time, we know that the vapor pressure of the alcohol is greater than water. उसका melting point कम होता है, ठीक है. जब वो कम होगा, so that will start moving towards upward. upward जाने लगेगा just because of Marine-Warning effect. Then after some time, because before when it go upward, this is balancing your gravity with the surface tension phenomena. But after some time, your gravity will lead this surface tension phenomena. And after that, this portion of your spill, or you can say the droplet, that moves towards the downward again. And that is called your tearing effect of wine. ठीक है, तो ऐसे करके ऊपर जाएगा, फिर वो ऐसे नीचे जाएगा. So that will create the tears. जैसे हमने फर्स्ट फिगर में देखा था, इसमें देखा था कि ऐसे ऊपर जाके the vapors are moving out upwards, and after that they are falling downwards. That is called your tearing of wine. So now we comes to self-reverting fluids. Self-reverting fluids are the fluids whose surface tension increases with the increase in temperature after a certain period of time, or you can say that after certain time. As you can see, the normal any water or any other substance, liquid, whose surface tension will decrease with increase in temperature. But for the self-reverting fluid, after the 50 or 60 degrees Celsius, its surface tension is increasing with the increase in temperature. So this is the new fluid. Maybe in 10 to 15 years, you will study in your books also after the research. When this research is completed, this I already discussed with you. So what is now the in initial I said about the micro oscillating heat pipe. What is this micro oscillating heat pipe? Micro you mean नैनो, मतलब नैनो यूज कर रहे हैं और एमएम में यूज कर रहे हैं, ठीक है. तो जब हम बहुत छोटे पाइप्स के लिए यूज करते हैं, बिकॉज आई कांट डिस्कस सो मेनी वेरिएशन ऑफ पाइप्स, सो प्रेजेंटली आई एम डिस्कसिंग द माइक्रो ऑसिलेटिंग हीट पाइप. सो इन दैट बिग वेरी स्मॉल स्ट्रक्चर, से बहुत पतला सा पाइप रहता है. घर में भी देखेंगे छोटे छोटे पाइप, या मोबाइल में देखा होगा बहुत छोटे छोटे से पाइप रहते हैं, ठीक है. दैट हैव दैट बिग काइंड ऑफ स्ट्रक्चर, एंड देन योर हीट इज डिसिपेट और योर हीट इज इंक्रीज. जैसे हम अपना हीट इंक्रीज करते जाते हैं इन इनिशियल फॉर्म ऑफ बॉइलिंग. तो बॉइलिंग में भी देखा होगा, जब हम घर में पानी उबालते हैं, इनिशियली वी हैव अ वेरी स्मॉल बबल, and after some time when we increase the temperature further, we have a very big boils, the bubble type ke, they have a very big boil. So same that happens in the your tube also. When your heat is transferred from your inlet to the outlet, or you can say the heat generation to the sink. If I'm saying the inlet, that is your generation of heat in your apparatus. When I say out, that is simply mean your cooling portion or your sinking portion. So same happens in the tubes also. In your any tube, this is your glass tube, and the same phenomena happening in your copper tube too. With the increase in temperature, the size of the bubble which is produced inside your pipe, that will increase. As you can see in ABC, there's a very small droplets. All these small droplets हैं, Then when we increase the temperature, there are big bubbles are formed, and after that, large slugs are formed. ऐसे बहुत बड़ी slugs form हो जाते हैं. So with the increase in temperature, when you are using the normal fluid like DI water or normal water, at that time, with the increase of surface tension, मतलब with the decrease of surface tension with the temperature, there is a probability or always large slugs are formed. Because क्या होगा कि यहाँ का जो टेम्परेचर है वो यहाँ पे ज्यादा पास नहीं हो पाएगा, जो फ्लूइड विल नॉट पास. यहाँ पे टेम्परेचर बढ़ाएंगे तो सरफेस टेंशन डिक्रीज हो जाएगा. लाइक इन ट्यूब, कोई कहीं पे भी ट्यूब ले लो, ठीक है, वर्टिकल सोच लो, हॉरिजॉन्टल सोच लो. इफ योर हीट temperature is increased in this portion, then your fluid will not move towards the cooling portion just because of your surface tension. Increase ही नहीं करेगा, और अगर करेगा भी तो इन वेपर फॉर्म करेगा. And in vapor form you have more temperature than in your liquid form. ये हमेशा होता है. Then you will have the maximum temperature difference between the 2 points. फिर तुम्हारा जो temperature difference है between your inlet and outlet, between your generation and sink, वो ज्यादा होगा. And when your temperature difference will increase, then definitely your resistance of that column or that pipe will increase, and your heat transfer enhancement or your coefficient will decrease. But when it comes to your self-revetting fluid, इसी में समझ लो. When it comes to your self-revetting fluid, just because surface tension की increase, temperature की increase होने से your surface tension is increasing, so at that time your fluid itself will transfer your heat from this portion to this portion, and your dry out phenomena will not occur. When you have fluid here also and here also, then the temperature difference definitely will not exceed to the one limit, because in vapor form you have more temperature than in the liquid form of that particular fluid. And in this case, you are transferring your heat also, your heat dissipation is also taking place, and your dry out phenomena is not taking place, and the temperature difference between your heating and the cooling portion will maintain beyond one limit. एक limit से बाहर नहीं जाएगा, just because we are not producing any kind of vapor. So your heat resistance will be always in control, and your heat transfer enhancement is always in control. और जब dry out ही नहीं आएगा, temperature एक मार्क के ऊपर ही नहीं बढ़ेगा, तो मतलब तुम्हारी हीटिंग प्रॉब्लम जो होती है, हम बोलते हैं कि बार बार बंद कर दो, है ना, पीसी बंद कर दो अपना, या कार को थोड़ी देर के लिए रेस्ट कर दो, तो वो हमें करना नहीं चाहिए. दिस इज दी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट, एंड दिस टेक्नोलॉजी स्टिल अंडर दी कंसिडरेशन और स्टिल अंडर दी एक्सपेरिमेंट. अभी भी चल रहे हैं, अभी इसको पूरी तरीके से लॉन्च नहीं किया गया, एंड researchers are trying to launch first in the aerospace. And now why we call this is the micro oscillating. I also had used the one word oscillating. Oscillating. Like suppose मैं अभी एक स्ट्रक्चर दिखाती हूँ कि मेरा सेटअप है, मैंने अपने मास्टर्स में किया था 2013. So here you can see ऐसे करके एक पाइप दिख रहा है ऊपर, इसको हमने ऐसे करके ऑसिलेटिंग, ये इतना पोर्शन है, ये ऐसे करके एक पाइप है, ठीक, हमने इसको यहाँ से ब्लॉक कर रखा है, यहाँ से ब्लॉक कर रखा है. Now what will happen if we have a heating portion in the below section and the cooling section over the upper section, then what will happen? Your fluid will move from one portion to the above. यहाँ से from the below to the above, your fluid will move, and after moving, that will again due to pressure, this will create its own pressure. पहले ये fluid ऐसे जाएगा. When your pressure difference here is larger and here is less, then this fluid will again reverse back in this direction. Then again, just because of heating effect, your pressure here will become less than pressure over this point. Then again, this fluid will oscillate like this. The same fluid is oscillating in the whole tube, in your whole panel, again and again, without creating any dry out or without creating any maximum temperature difference between the 2 points. समझ में आया थोड़ा? हाँ हाँ तो कर दो थोड़ा. तो सोचो जब ड्राई आउट नहीं होगा, यू विल डोंट हैव एनी काइंड ऑफ ड्राई आउट फिनोमेना व्हिच इज occurring हमारी सरफेस टेंशन की वजह से हीट ट्रांसफर एनहेंसमेंट हो रहा है, देयर इज अ नो रिलीज ऑफ एनी हार्मफुल गैसेस जो अभी हम लोग एट प्रेजेंटली वी आर यूजिंग, तो हम प्रेजेंटली हम लोग रेफ्रिजरेंट यूज कर रहे हैं. So you will have a very good sustainable environment. This will help to reduce so many toxic gases in your environment and basically help to less deplete your ozone layer effect in the environment. So this is my setup. This is the cooling portion. यहाँ पे cooling portion है, यहाँ पे heating portion है panel के लिए. And here is the copper tubes of 1.3 mm dia. बहुत ही छोटा dia. And here we are creating a vacuum by using this syringe. And this is the rehausse, or this is the device which is calculating the temperature for each and every point in the tube. These are the configurations that I have used in the 4-turn MOHP or a copper tube of the length 194 centimeter. 194 centimeter is not a very large tube. तो हमने ऐसे करके मोल्ड किया. तो तुम लोग यहाँ पर भी कर सकते हो. If you want to fabricate, you can fabricate easily. And the diameter is 1.3 mm and the OD is 2.2 mm. And I use the filling ratio because filling is very important. We are studying over the filling. कि हमारे filling से कितना हमारा heat transfer enhancement हो रहा है, और how we can increase the heat enhancement, or you can say the heat transfer coefficient or transfer of heat from the heating portion to the cooling portion in your any devices or the micro devices. Or these are the other specification of the plates which are used in evaporation. So this is your evaporation portion, this is your adiabatic portion, and this is your condensation portion. And the अच्छा किसी को रेजिस्टेंस समझ में ना आया हो तो यू कैन कैलकुलेट बाय दिस फॉर्मूला. मैंने इनिशियली समझा दिया है ये सारा. ठीक. So as you can see, in a deionized water with the increase in heat input, when we increase the heat input in our device, the resistance will keep increasing. Resistance increase हो रहा है, और you already published है. You can see my research paper also. And in the cell revetting fluid, with the increase in heat input, our resistances start decreasing after the one point. And when our resistances start decreasing, it means our heat is more transferred or from the heating portion to the cooling portion, and this heat transfer coefficient is also managed or by this. So you have any, if you have any doubt, just tell me. You can ask anything regarding this. और पढ़ना है तो बताओ, मैं और भी पढ़ा सकती हूँ. मुझे बोला गया जल्दी वाइंड अप करने के लिए. So do you have any doubts? I was just searching my research topic in my master's, and this is the one of the hot topics at the time because that fluid just invented 2013 and I just joined my master's in 2013. So in 2014 I started working on it. And everybody said that don't do this, this will not work. But this worked. Just I had used the heptanol and hexanol at the time. Very 0.1% 8% in the water. And at the time these are my results. So I can say that this still may work in the heat transfer enhancement field. And you should all work on topics like this. Because as a chemical engineer, this is our core, heat and mass and other things. So my research topic is very different. I'll work in a wastewater treatment as a pyrolysis or the solid management. Just because of your class. Because ये सब तो हो गया होगा ना इसमें 5 दिनों में. तो मुझे लगा let's talk about the core of chemical engineering, about the heat transfer. And this topic is very close to my heart because this is my first research work back in 2013. And you have any other doubts that you can also ask me? Aboji research. कैसा लगता है यहाँ पे पढ़ने में? How do you feel like a chemical engineer? अच्छा लगता है being a chemical engineer? समझ बताओ तो अच्छा. आज समझ में आया? अच्छा लगा? पढ़ोगे जाके? दिस इज अंडर द कंसिडरेशन। अभी भी जितने भी एरोस्पेस प्रोग्राम हो रहे हैं तो उसमें दे आर प्रोड्यूसिंग, बिकॉज इन एरोस्पेस देयर इज अ सो मच प्रॉब्लम ऑफ द वेट कि आप इतना फ्लूइड वेटेड फ्लूइड नहीं कैरी कर सकते, एंड दिस इज लाइक अ लिक्विड और इसको आप कभी भी रिप्लेस कर सकते हो। उसके बाद कहाँ पे भी तो हीट डिसिपेशन कहाँ करोगे, मतलब यूनिवर्स में भी जाके वहाँ पे भी जाके कौन हीट डिसिपेशन करोगे। इसमें क्या होगा, हीट डिसिपेशन क्या होगा, यू हैव टू मैनेज वेरी few devices for your heat dissipation, मतलब तुम्हारा जो एयरक्राफ्ट है उसका वेट बहुत कम हो जाए। दिस विल वर्क, दिस इज वर्किंग, मतलब दिस इज वर्किंग, बट दैट इज अंडर दी इम्प्लीमेंटेशन। वेट बहुत कम हो जाएगा, आपके जो कूलिंग डिवाइसेस है, यू डोंट नीड दैट मच हेवी कूलिंग डिवाइसेस फॉर योर एयरक्राफ्ट और फॉर योर एनी सिस्टम ऑफ हीट ट्रांसफर। एनी अदर डाउट? थैंक यू। नहीं मेरा नॉलेज है। हाँ सर, पूरा रिसर्च पेपर से लिया मैंने। बट पढ़ो अच्छा, गुड एवरीथिंग। अच्छा लगा कि नहीं पहले बताओ। यस सर। नहीं नहीं जनरली हम लोग नहीं पढ़ते, केयर अबाउट, जनरली वी डोंट केयर अबाउट सो मेनी टॉपिक्स, रिसर्च रिलेटेड टॉपिक्स जो यूजुअली करें तो इट्स अ वेरी ग्रेट प्लेटफॉर्म। ओके गाइस, टीचर्स विल thank you ma'am for your detailed transfer into sustainable energy and sustainable development. And thank you ma'am. Now this is break time. We'll meet after this. इसके बाद सर्टिफिकेट डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सेरेमनी है, तुम लोग का सर्टिफिकेट है, तो सब लोग आ जाना, पेड वाला सब लोग आ जाना, एक क्रेडिट वाले, और उसके बाद इवेंट को बिल होती है आंदोलन में आप तो हम लोग करेंगे सर। जरा आके जाओगे क्या? नहीं जानते